Isaac Asimov, a famous writer, once said, "No one can possibly have lived through the Great Depression without being scared by it. No amount of experience since the Depression can convince someone who has lived through it that the world is safe economically." The Great Depression was the worst economic downturn in the history of the industrialized world. The Great Depression affected almost 30 million people around the world. It had the biggest impact in the 20th century. We need to know more about this topic to know what not to do. The Great Depression was a global phenomenon that affected so many countries. Africa, Asia, Australia, Europe, North and South America all suffered from the Great Depression. It started in 1929 and ended around 1939. The first country to have an economic downfall was America. America was trying to help Germany. Allied nations with America, like Great Britain and France, owed $10 billion in war loans. Germany got trapped in loans and debt against the U.S. Countries that were dependent on the export of primary products, such as those in Latin America, were already suffering depression in the late 1920s. When the American economy fell into depression, U.S. banks recalled their loans, causing the German banking system to collapse. Serious overproduction in agriculture, leading to the falling prices and rising debt among farmers. In Germany and the United States, industrial output fell about 50%, and between 20 and 33% of the industrial labor force was unemployed. One of the main reasons America had the Great Depression was the Wall Street crash in 1929. 16 million stocks were sold by investors who lost faith in the economy. In Europe, around the same time, there was an increase in manufacturing armament and machinery, which then led to selling European currencies and banks going out of business. For Germany, the Treaty of Versailles is one of the main reasons they fell into depression. From trying to pay off not just their country but also other countries, the Great Depression hit them hard. Europe's economy was bad, which affected other economies in West Africa, the Middle East, and South Asia. America was also trying to fix Europe's economy, but by doing that, it was another reason why America fell into the Great Depression. Recovery Education states, as the United States aided in Europe's recovery efforts and loaned money to Germany for its reparations payments during the 1920s, the financial health of the United States and Europe became linked. So not only was America trying to help Europe, but it was also trying to help Germany, which led to America falling into the Great Depression. From the Great Depression, the gold standard ended. Unemployment rose. Australia, US, and the Netherlands unemployment went up by 30%. In Germany, it went up by 40%. From it, families lost homes because they couldn't pay rent. They didn't have enough money for food. It also didn't matter if you were rich or poor, the Depression still affected you. Recovery Education says, the Great Depression affected almost everyone, rich, middle class, and poor. However, those who had the least were most affected because many of them struggled even before the crisis hit. From this world depression, the radio became a huge thing. People didn't have television, but there were comedians that would help drown the reality of the world away. Here is some of the radio during the Depression.
America was plunged into the worst depression in its history, and one of the few luxury items Americans continued to buy was the radio. Listening to the radio became sort of general anesthetic for the pain of poverty, and with Amos and Andy leading the way, comedy became the most popular form of programming.
Another thing that kept people happier was jazz music, because you can't be sad and dance at the same time. Here's some jazz music now. It helped shape the 20th century by showing that no matter how hard life can be for the world, we can get through it together. It reshaped politics because the current president at the time, Herbert Hoover, was an advocate for capitalism. But people didn't want capitalism. They just wanted to be promised jobs. So people voted for Franklin Roosevelt because he promised more jobs, and he delivered. With him, unemployment went down. The stock market took a while to get back to normal. The balance states, the stock market lost 90% of its value between 1929 and 1932. It didn't recover for 25 years. It affected the environments. In Europe, the spread of totalism. Hitler was able to conquer Europe more because of the Depression. He promised jobs, and that's what people wanted, so they were fooled into thinking he would do that. In Asia, the Depression is linked to the spread of brutality of Japanese imperialism. The middle class expanded from the Depression because rich people weren't making money anymore. Great Depression had the biggest impact on the 20th century. It affected millions of lives around the world. It created an era of jazz and dancing your fears away. The radio was huge, which impacted so many people's lives. It helped them find a happy place. It changed who the president was going to be. It helped Hitler take over Europe with his promises of more jobs. It changed the middle class. It changed nations. But most importantly, it showed how strong humanity is.